Honorable President Tajani, Honorable Prime Minister Rasmussen, Honorable members, good after midday. Before moving to today's discussion on the future of Europe, let me come back to the point which President Tajani raised at the beginning of this plenary, namely concerning the situation in Ukraine. Escalating tensions in the Azov Sea over the past days have led to the seizures of Ukrainian vessels and shots being fired at them by Russia, as well as injuries to a number of Ukrainian servicemen. These developments are unacceptable, and we expect Russia to immediately release the vessels and the crew and to ensure needed medical assistance to Ukrainian servicemen. International law obliges the Russian Federation to ensure unhindered and free passage of all vessels through the Kerch Strait. Therefore, we expect Russia to restore the freedom of passage at the Kerch Strait. As you know, the EU does not and will not recognize the illegal annexation of Crimean Peninsula by Russia and condemns its aggression towards Ukraine. High Representative Vice President Federica Mogherini has been in touch with several partners since this escalation has started and will continue to engage on this issue in a view of broader international response. The EU's Political and Security Committee has also met earlier this week to discuss the situation and next steps. Thank you.
Micro.
And now let me move to today's discussion on the future of Europe. Speaking on behalf of President Juncker, who is in his way to Buenos Aires for the G20 meeting, allow me to start by thanking Prime Minister Rasmussen for taking part in today's debate on the future of the Union. At the start of this year, we celebrated 45 years since Denmark joined the European Union. In that time, Denmark has given to the Union so much, from its effective social model, its growth-friendly business environment, and its well-functioning social dialogue, to the richness of its culture. It was Denmark that pioneered a successful model for labour markets, combining flexibility with a high degree of social protection. In a political sphere, Danish leadership was also as visible. As a Latvian, I well remember that Denmark was among the first countries to recognize Latvia's restoration of independence in 1991. It was a concrete expression of European solidarity. This support continued, and together with other Nordic countries, Denmark provided important political backing for the accession of the Baltic states in 2004. This leadership role has continued since the crisis. For instance, in the post-crisis period, Denmark was quick to implement difficult but effective public spending controls. Crucially, this was achieved while still maintaining the second highest level of social protection spending in the EU. This serves as a good example of how prudent fiscal policy is compatible with delivery of high-quality public services. More recently, Denmark has been working hard to further improve competitiveness and increase productivity. Ultimately, it is productivity gains that will allow for continued improvements in living standards. That, too, is a lesson for all countries to draw on. Prime Minister, honourable members, these are good economic times. Europe's economy is now entering its sixth year of uninterrupted growth. Employment has risen to a record level of 239 million people, and unemployment has fallen back to pre-crisis levels, helping more than 10 million people out of poverty or social exclusion. But we cannot become complacent. External risks are there and mounting, while at the same time important reforms remain incomplete. The current economic sunshine is an opportunity for us to finish what we have started before the next storm arrives. Completing reforms is not just a matter of individual countries. Building a stronger, more democratic and more united union will require us to stay close and build trust with one another. As President Juncker said in his State of the Union address, Europe succeeds when it speaks with one voice. Now, more than ever, global events highlight the importance of this message. The reality is that European nations have no size or the weight to shape global affairs on their own, and this trend is only going in one direction. By 2060, no single European nation will have more than 1% of the world's population. This is why European countries, big or small, pool and share their sovereignty to build a stronger form of common sovereignty. As part of the world's largest single market and a bloc which accounts for a fifth of global economy, each country is better placed to defend its national interests and to ensure fairness and prosperity for its people. This pooling of sovereignty begins with a single market, a concept that Denmark has embraced and made most of it since 1973. Last week, we presented a communication to highlight the achievements of the single market over the past 25 years. But we also stressed the need to improve and deepen it for our future prosperity. This is why we have set out our roadmap for deepening of economic and monetary union. A strong economic and monetary union is, of course, vital to the stability and prospects of the euro area, but as Prime Minister has often said, it is equally important for the European Union as a whole. In that spirit, Denmark has played an active and positive role in the debate of strengthening our economic and monetary union, but now it is time to move from debate to decisions in order to strengthen the resilience of the euro area. This means completing the banking union, which Denmark might decide to join soon, and completing the capital markets union, on which the Commission adopted a report today. Strengthening the single market and economic and monetary union also means strengthening the role which euro plays in the global currency system. Even if Denmark remains outside the currency area, its pegged to the euro has given it a solid anchor for low and stable inflation and reduce the uncertainty of trade. And this is true for Denmark as it's true for many other countries. Countries across the globe rely on the euro as a safe store of value. Around 20% of international reserves of foreign central banks are denominated in euro. Yet there is a scope for further development of euro's global political role. Recent political events should serve as a wake-up call in this area. Now it's time for us to take the initiative. The Commission will put out a communication and accompanying acts next week on this important issue. Last but not least, if we want to be truly ready for the future, we need to invest in it now. We need to plan together with common purpose. This is why we have focused our proposals for the new multi-annual financial framework on areas where we can achieve more together and which are crucial to Denmark and Europe's future. Our proposal is balanced. As Denmark and others have called for, we have put forward programs that are modern, more efficient and more focused on urgent priorities. For instance, there is almost a threefold increase in funding for migration and security to make sure that Europe can protect its citizens. Funding for research and innovation, of which Denmark is one of the highest recipients, will be increased by 50% to reach 100 billion euros. We have proposed a new Digital Europe program worth 9 billion euro to support Europe's digital transformation. And we will also ensure that 25% of the budget will support our climate and sustainable development targets. But just as we cannot delay or postpone our future, we should not lose time in agreeing on the resources needed to bring that future to the life. As President Juncker said, there would be no better message, no greater symbol to show Europeans that their union will invest in the future and take its destiny in its own hands. To conclude, when we think about the future of Europe, we should perhaps recall old and wise Danish saying, "Making predictions is hazardous, especially about the future." But, honourable members, dear Prime Minister, there are two things I feel confident in predicting. Firstly, If we are going to protect our citizens, harness the benefits of a rapidly changing world, and create more opportunities for more prosperity, we will have to remain strong and united. And my second prediction is that Denmark will continue to play a positive role for shaping a better, stronger European future. Thank you very much.
Grazie al Vicepresidente Dombrovskis. A nome dei gruppi, il primo intervento è quello di Manfred Weber per il Partito Popolare Europeo.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President of the Commission, Mr. Prime Minister, dear colleagues, welcome in the European Parliament. Denmark is since 45 years member of the European Union, Valdis Dombrovskis was referring to this. So that gives you a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience about the future of Europe, what the Danish people and the Danish society experienced in the last decades already on Europe. And what you said, it was not always easy with Europe in Denmark, Maastricht Treaty, but finally there was always a clear yes to the membership and to the readiness to contribute to positive development. I was surprised when I saw the Eurobarometer data that Denmark is a country where the people say that their voice counts in Europe at most. So the first place is a Danish place. So the participation from the people towards the European decision-making process is obviously working very well in Denmark. Congratulations to this, because I think that's the most important thing for the future of Europe, to bridge between the European decision-making process and the people of Europe. You said it, some call us bureaucrats, some call us elites. People have the feeling that after the votes in elections next year, nothing changed. Some persons will be removed, but nothing changed on the political direction. And I think that is a key question. When we talk to Brexit, when we talk about Brexit, we talk about the lesson we have to learn out of Brexit, then it's about sovereignty back. People want to have a say. People must know that their voice counts on European level. That's why I welcome the ideas in this regard to make it more clear for people what we are doing here. I absolutely want to underline that the most important issue for the future of Europe is, and that I think we share all here in this plenary, is the foreign affairs and the defense field. Russia gives us a concrete case at the moment where we have to give a proper answer as Europeans together. For us, it's clear that the Ukrainians must decide about their way towards the future, whether they want to go to the European Union direction or whether they see the future more in the east. It's up to Kiev to decide, not about Russia, not about Moscow, and not about Brussels. It's about Kiev to decide. And I also want to underline that we need urgently a common voice in these fields of external affairs. The unanimous vote is, from our understanding, an old concept. We have to come to the majority decision-making process in this field to be stronger and more active. And finally, on the Russian thing, I want to underline that, when Russia is still provoking Europe and European partners and friends, then I think we also have to rethink again the investments on Nord Stream 2. I think we shouldn't be more depending on the Russian gas than we are already now, and it should be a European decision-making process when we talk about Nord Stream 2. We have a lot of these points on the table. I only want to mention the key issues. When we want to discuss about Europe for the future, we have to defend Europe. That's why the Schengen question, the border protection issue, in my home region between Germany and Austria, but also in the Danish-German border region, is not a thing which is a good thing for the future. That's why let's invest in the Frontex. Let's protect the Bulgarian, the Greek border towards Turkey. That would be much more efficient and would also bring the same effect. Another element is to continue to convince. We had also the decisions about Europol in your country, where people didn't trust in cooperation on data exchange and to strengthen the data exchange, for more security, for fight against organized crime on European level. I thank you for your engagement in this regard to try to still convince the Danish people that this is in all of our interests to have this data exchange. And finally, to strengthen Europe. Yes, the single market is the future. We did not too much in this period, frankly speaking, to strengthen the single market, only on digital single market, but not in the rest. So we have to be more engaged in this. You have the full support of the EPP, and we have to create prosperity, and that's why free and fair trade agreements are the future of this continent. We have to do so. You have the full support of the EPP. And finally, let me switch into German. Ich möchte nämlich einen grundsätzlichen Gedanken am Schluss anbringen. Die Sorge der Menschen, wie es weitergeht auf dem Kontinent, wird zum einen bedient durch Populisten mit einfachen Antworten, aber wir haben leider auch die Situation, dass Schuldige gesucht werden, einfach Schuldige gesucht werden. Der Antisemitismus auf diesem Kontinent nimmt zu. Sowohl in meinem Land, in Deutschland, als auch Frankreich, Großbritannien, in vielen Staaten sind die Entwicklungen beunruhigend. Ich war letzte Woche in Auschwitz, habe Auschwitz besucht. Man wird dort an diesem Ort still. Es ist kalt dort. Die Tötungsmaschine der Nazideutschen hat dort ihr unsägliches Werk vollbracht. Ich spreche das deswegen an, weil es der Gründungsimpuls auch für Europa war. Simone Weil war die erste Präsidentin dieser Institution und Auschwitz-Überlebende. Sie hat beim 40. Jahrestag der Befreiung Auschwitz in einer Rede gesagt, dass der Gründungsimpuls für Europa das nie wieder war. Nie wieder Krieg, so wie Sie es angesprochen haben, aber auch nie wieder Rassismus, Antisemitismus, Ausgrenzung, kein Respekt vor Menschenrechten. Auch das war das Gründungsmoment für die Europäische Union. Und warum spreche ich das heute an? Weil ich in den Unterlagen gesehen habe, dass in Dänemark 99% aller Juden den Holocaust überlebt haben. Dänemark hat gehandelt. In Dänemark sind die Menschen aufgestanden und haben den Juden einen Weg aus dem Land heraus geprägt und haben sie gerettet. Die Bürgergesellschaft hat gerettet. Die Werte hochgehalten, die Europa ausmachen. Und ich finde das gerade, wenn wir über die Zukunft Europas reden, einen wichtigen Gedanken. Dass Menschen, dass wir zu unseren Werten stehen und dass wir sie verteidigen, auch in dunklen Zeiten. Und da ist Dänemark ein Vorbild. Herzlichen Dank dafür.
Per il gruppo dell'Alleanza Progressista e Socialisti e Democratici la parola all'onorevole Kofod.
Tak, herr formand. Kære statsminister, kære Lars Løkke Rasmussen, velkommen til Europaparlamentet, og tillad mig at tale på mit modersmål i dagens anledning. Fredens projekt, migration, klimaforandringer, det at få et velfungerende indre marked, fri og fair handel, alt sammen vigtige ting, som vi kan blive enige om, at det skal styrkes i det samarbejde, vi står i. Men det er også vigtigt at sige, at når der er utilfredshed blandt borgerne i Europa, så skyldes det jo også, at der også er forfejlede politikker. Altså, vi har set en globalisering igennem de sidste årtier, som har bragt mange positive ting med sig, men også negative ting med sig. Vi har mistet kontrollen over områder, hvor borgerne med rette efterspørger, at vi tager kontrollen tilbage på demokratisk vis. Så nogen, og liberale og konservative især, har jo hyldet globaliseringens vindere og lukket øjnene for dem, der betaler prisen i form af løntrykkeri og social dumping. Lad mig tage et eksempel. De sidste 20 år er selskabsskatten i EU-landene faldet fra 35% til 22%. Udviklingen fortsætter. Der er et skatteræs mod bunden. Apple, Facebook, Google har betalt under 1% af deres fortjenester i Europa i skat. Europas statskasser er blevet frastjålet over 400 milliarder kroner i skandalen ComEx-skandalen, som vi har set i mange europæiske lande. Danmark alene har mistet over 12 milliarder kroner på de svindlere, de stjæler vores statskasse. Banditter i habitter. Skat på digitale giganter, fælles bund under selskabsskatten i Europa, afgift på finansielle transaktioner, åbne regnskaber for multinationale selskabers datterselskaber, en konsolideret selskabsskattebase i EU, en EU-alarmcentral mod skattesvig og hvidvask, økonomisk kriminalitet. Alle de her konkrete løsninger på international skattefusk kæmper din regering aktivt imod på EU-niveau. Statsministerens egen skatteminister nægtede sågar at mødes med det særlige skattesnydsudvalg her i parlamentet, da vi inviterede ham. Så statsminister, i kampen mod international skattefusk er din regering alt for ofte desværre ikke, og jeg begræder det, en del af løsningen, men en del af problemet. Og kære statsminister, EU-samarbejde handler jo netop om samarbejde. Det er vi enige om. At finde nogle gode, pragmatiske fælles løsninger. Og beslutninger træffes af dem, der er til stede ved bordet. Det ved vi alle sammen i det her rum her. Derfor undrer det mig også, at den danske regering er så lidt aktiv i EU, som den er. Selv på egne, helt erklærede mærkesager, og det blev også nævnt her i talen af statsministeren, er regeringen fraværende. 7 dage før valget i 2015 udsendte du, Venstre, Dansk Folkeparti, De Konservative og Liberale Alliance en fælleserklæring under overskriften, jeg citerer, borgerlige partier vil sikre dansk velfærd i EU. I gik til valg på, at jeg citerer, sikre dagpengeregler, så EU-borgere ikke fremover kan opnå fuld ret til dansk dagpenge efter bare få ugers medlemskab af en A-kasse og fuldtidsarbejde i Danmark. Nu vil vi så konstatere, at regeringen ikke kan leve op til det valgløfte, man lovede før sidste valg, at man ikke har gjort de nødvendige anstrengelser i ministerrådet, og vi nu har det samme situation her i parlamentet. Hvorfor skulle der gå hele 1.266 dage fra Venstre, Dansk Folkeparti, Liberal Alliance og de konservative lovede danskerne at begrænse mulighederne for eksport af velfærdsydelser, til det nu tager sagen op i Europaparlamentet, som vi hørte i dag? Det forstår jeg ikke. Det, der er vigtigt, hr. statsminister, det er, at vi har et stærkt Europa omkring de værdier, som kendetegner os. Velfungerende velfærdsstater, velfungerende demokrati og beskyttelse af borgernes rettigheder. Så det er mennesker før markedet, det er arbejder før aktiekurs, og det er også klima før konkurrencehensyn. På den måde kan vi bygge et fremtidigt Europa, der respekterer borgernes bekymringer og beskytte vores særlige sociale model i Europa. Det skal vi stå sammen om. Vi har brug for en ny kurs, og den vil jeg gerne have hørt noget mere om i dag. Tak for ordet.
Per il gruppo dei conservatori e dei riformisti europei la parola onorevole Vistisen.
Nå, der kom den. Velkommen til Europaparlamentet på vegne af ECR-gruppen og Dansk Folkeparti, hr. statsminister. Vi har set meget frem til at høre din vision for fremtidens EU. Og jeg kan forstå, at det drejer sig meget om EU som fredens projekt. Og man kunne måske på den baggrund få ned til at spørge statsministeren, hvilke konflikter Danmark kunne have rodet sig ud i, hvis vi ikke var blevet medlem af EU i 1973. Men i dag er det mere nærliggende for mig at spørge statsministeren om forsvarsforbeholdet, som statsministeren og hans forsvarsminister jo for nyligt har sagt, vi skal afskaffe. Det kan jo undre, at man nu for ikke første, men anden, og heller ikke anden, men tredje gang kræver af danskerne, at de skal forholde sig til forbeholdene ved en folkeafstemning, selvom man hver gang har bekræftet dem. Men det, der mere undrer mig omkring forsvarsforbeholdet, hr. statsminister, det er, hvad er Venstres logik? Venstre vil, som jeg har hørt det, af med forsvarsforbeholdet, for at vi ikke kan deltage i en europæisk hær. Det er jo internt modstridende. Og jeg kan forstå, at logikken er, at statsministeren finder, at hvis han bare sidder med ved bordet, så kan han forhindre etableringen af en europæisk hær, på trods af, at det her parlament, EU-kommissionen og Tysklands Angela Merkel og præsident Macron, alle er varme fortalere for projektet. Ja, det sidstnævnte Macron har endda sagt, at initiativet delvist er rettet mod vores nære ven og allierede USA. Men statsminister, undskyld, jeg tror desværre, at dit selvtillid er lidt rigeligt stor på det område. Jeg tror ikke, at du kan vende tidevandet her i Europa, når det kommer til føderaliseringen. Og grunden til, at jeg mener det, er netop det, du selv har bragt op i dag med velfærdsydelserne. Det er jo sådan, at din regering er løbet ind i det ene nederlag efter det andet, når det kommer til at bekæmpe velfærdsturisme, som ellers var en fælles ambition fra vores partier før sidste valg. Du har undladt at indeksere børnepengene, selvom den østrigske regering er gået ned af den vej. Desværre vil du ikke løbe den samme procesrisiko over for EU-domstolen. Og i forhold til kampen om dagpenge, danske dagpenge, hvor det før valget var en katastrofe, at der kunne gives fuld dagpengeret efter en lille måned, jamen så tegner flertallet sig nu til, at det skal ske efter en dags arbejde i Danmark, og man i øvrigt må tage den her dagpengeret med sig til et andet EU-land i op til 6 måneder. Så kære statsminister, jeg respekterer, at du gerne vil sidde med bordet, men det ser ikke ud til, at det nytter særlig meget for danske interesser, om du er der eller ej. Man kunne så forledes til at tro, at den stribe af nederlag, som regeringen er løbet ind i dens EU-politiske mærkesager, der blev fremlagt før valget, havde fået statsministeren og hans parti til at reflektere over alle de positive følelser, man generelt har for EU-projektet. Det lader ingenlunde til at være tilfældet. Statsministeren har jo netop haft landsmøde i Venstre, hvor jeg kunne forstå, at mantraet, der kom ud derfra frem mod EU-valget, var, at Venstre er Danmarks mest EU-positive parti. Og ret skal være ret. Sådan føler jeg egentlig også sagen her fra Europaparlamentets side. I sidder jo i den føderalistiske ALDE-gruppe. I har støttet hr. Verhofstadt som gruppeformand for gruppen. I har støttet ham som spidsenkandidat i det sidste EU-parlamentsvalgkamp. Og I har endda støttet ham til formandsposten her i Europaparlamentet. Og det var en varm støtteerklæring, hr. Verhofstadt fik. Forfatteren til bogen om Europas forenede stater. Det er godt med kærligheden i ALDE. Og støtteerklæringen var, at hr. Verhofstadt havde de klareste visioner for Europa. Og hr. Verhofstadts visioner er klare. Der er tale om en ny EU-forfatning, der indeholder alt fra en fælles præsident, udenrigsminister, finansminister, direkte skatter, EU-hær, afskaffelse af alle nationale forbehold og tvangsfordeling af migranter. Og hr. Verhofstadts visioner går endnu videre. Han har også sagt, at den yderste konsekvens af at tænke i national identitet er gaskamrene i Auschwitz. Og endelig, vort fædreland er nu Europa, hvor nationalsang er glædeshymnen, hvor et flag er de 12 gule stjerner på den azurblå baggrund. Det må siges at være klare liberale visioner for Europa, hr. statsminister. Og jeg glæder mig til, at du og Danmarks mest EU-glade parti, Venstre, vil anfægte de synspunkter frem mod Europaparlamentsvalgkampen i 2019.
Per il gruppo dell'Alleanza dei Democratici e dei Liberali la parola onorevole Verhofstadt.
Yes, Prime Minister, Mr. Vistesen tried to tell you what a devil I am and that you are in fact working with the devil on the European level. But let me explain what I think about Europe. It's not necessary to believe what Mr. Vistesen is telling you this morning. But I was in fact very well pleased what you were talking about your red Volvo. I don't know, what was it, a 122 or already a 140 or a 240? If it is a 140 or a 240, then it could have been made in Ghent, in Belgium. And that tells everything about Europe today. The single market where you're talking about. It's a Swedish car used by a Danish Prime Minister to go, built in Belgium, to go to the Berlin Wall. And that is in fact what I'm so pleased in the way you talked about the future of the European Union. The future of the European Union is not that image, that centralistic nightmare that Mr. Vistesen is telling us. I'm very much pleased by what you have told us today. That is that also Denmark is of the opinion that the worst thing to do today is to throw away the European Union. And that is exactly what didn't happen the last years, Mr. Vistesen. It's a pity that Mr. Farage is not there. Because Mr. Farage, the first thing after Brexit, what he told us, Prime Minister, was that the next domino stone should fall. And the next domino stone, that was Denmark. After Brexit, we should have seen immediately a Dexit. That was what he was telling us here 2 years ago. And what we have seen is exactly the opposite. That is, there was no Dexit. No, in the Eurobarometer of today, the Danish people are in favor of the European Union. They like the European project. They are still critical towards the European project. I don't think that every Danish citizen finds that everything goes well. Certainly not Mr. Vistesen. But in any way, they are saying we are not so stupid to go outside of the European Union. Let's reform the European Union. That is the message of the Danish people, like I see it in the Eurobarometer, and like I hear it, not only in Denmark, but in many countries of the European Union when we are talking about the future. And what we have to do now, Prime Minister, and that's in opposition to Mr. Vistesen, who wants everything as a conservative, so nothing may change for him, otherwise you're not a conservative. But what we have to do now is to take the lesson of Brexit seriously. Not to say, oh, Brexit, it's only the UK going out, and let's go forward like we do in the past. No, take the lessons from Brexit, because the UK leaving the European Union is not an enormous success. It's a failure of the European Union. So we have to reform in the European Union. And I think I want to mention two things. The first is on the so-called European army, like Angela Merkel called it. I think that Mr. Weber have given all the arguments why we need a foreign policy, why we need a European army, and Mr. Vistesen has nothing to do with killing the NATO. For me, the European army is the European pillar of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and it's absolutely not in opposition. But we have to stop the waste of money on defense in Europe. We are spending 40% of the American army. We are capable to do 10% of the operations of the American army. We are spending 3 times more than the Russians on defense, on military in Europe. 3 times more. But I'm not sure, Prime Minister, that if the Russians come this side of our borders, we are capable to stop them without American help. And my second point is about the single market. We need the single market to complete it. You are totally right. We have a single market for Belgian chocolates. Very good. We have a single market for French champagne. Good also. We have a single market for German cars. Fine. We have a German market for Danish design. I'm not talking about IKEA now. I'm talking about real design, especially in Denmark. But we have not a single market for the services of the future. We don't have telecom. We don't have digital. We don't have the capital markets. And that can only be realized when we have a single regulator in Europe. At the time, we got one standard for mobile. You remember that? GSM standard, European standard. We got champions in Europe. We got Nokia. We got Ericsson. At this time, we don't have European standards. And from the 200 biggest high-tech companies, there are only 8 Europeans. For the 20 biggest high-tech companies worldwide, non-European. So I want to support you in your endeavor to create this digital single market as fast as possible and to do it with one regulator. And finally, on the values, also there Denmark has to play a role. Manfred, we cannot go forward with the illiberal tendencies in the European Union, and there also Denmark will play a key role. Thank you very much, Prime Minister.
Per il gruppo dei Verdi e dell'Alleanza Libera Europea la parola all'onorevole Lambert.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Prime Minister, welcome to the European Parliament. When Denmark comes into the conversation, many good things spring to mind. A global champion of renewable energy, a world leader in development aid, a country that has the guts to confront Russia's power plays by saying no to Nord Stream 2, and for that, thank you. A country where social partners are strong, who invented flexi-security as a way to give security to workers and flexibility to employers, and not the other way around. Your country also gave us Margrethe Vestager, the most impressive competition commissioner since a very long time, a real liberal fighting rent extraction, even when it comes in the way of sweetheart deals given by governments to multinationals. Denmark is a small country like my own, has a lot to offer to the European Union. You had 4 points, I have only 3, but at least we have 2 in common. Let me start with the ecological and just transition. We share your view that it's vital for Europe to be a world leader in that transition. We need to ensure that all societies operate within the boundaries that our planet has set to them. We need to do it in a way also that is good for everyone and not just for the happy few like we can see in France. It's an environmental imperative, a social necessity, a geopolitical aspiration, but also a not to be missed, and you mentioned it, economic opportunity. One could expect Denmark to share in that aspiration to leadership, and listening to you, I tend to believe this. And we do praise you for pushing Europe for the most ambitious standards, for instance, on CO2 emissions for cars. Thank you for that as well. But your country, and that's a bit surprising, ranks 5th in Europe in terms of carbon footprint by household. It's expected, if you don't change political course, actually to increase the non-renewable part of your energy mix and thereby increase your CO2 emissions rather than reducing them. Second point, migration. We believe that the European Union should assume its part of responsibility facing the asylum and migration challenge. We agree with you when you say that this is a place where more European action is needed. But under your party's leadership, Denmark is now joining hands with those who want to make Europe a fortress, slamming its doors shut to those in need. When you speak about tackling the root causes of migration, you are only focusing on the smugglers. Not only is your country reducing its development budget, because you claim, and rightfully so, it's 0.7% of GDP, but it used to be 1% of GDP. And it is now increasingly using this development budget to force beneficiary countries to lock their borders and take back migrants who might have escaped. Mr. Prime Minister, when people forcibly leave their country, it is because they are fleeing wars, persecution, climate change, natural resource exhaustion, or their social and economic conditions. If they turn to smugglers, Mr. Prime Minister, it is for lack of safe and legal ways to access safe countries such as ours. Nowadays, the keywords of EU asylum and migration policy are pushback and containment. We believe that we should take our fair share of welcoming while working on the real root causes. And of course, Europe cannot solve all the world's problems, but we can do much more to fight climate change, to have a fairer global economic system, to promote democracy and rule of law instead of supporting tyrannies, notably by selling them weapons and buying natural resources extracted with little respect for the local communities. Let me conclude with a point that you didn't tackle, the euro. Denmark is in the unenviable position to actually not be part of the euro, but have its currency pegged to it. We are disappointed that your country is now joining the camp of the naysayers, who deny reality by claiming that the euro is safe and viable just by applying the current rules. On the contrary, we are convinced that no monetary union is viable without strong financial solidarity, both in the private and public sectors. That means a fiscal union where common taxes fund a common budget and possibly basic elements of a common social safety net. That also means a full banking union that eliminates the doom loop between states and their banking systems. And of course, financial solidarity comes with responsibility, enshrined in rules. But these rules need to be based on sound economic science, which is not always the case, far from it, and protect the general rather than particular interests. And indeed, mutual trust is badly affected when these rules are breached. Speaking of which, Mr. Prime Minister, such breaches sometimes come from unexpected quarters, like when Danske Bank is exposed as one of the worst money launderers in Europe. Mr. Prime Minister, we share your European ambition. I'm not sure that we agree on everything, but I'm glad to see Denmark engaging. I'm sure that we are going to have lively debates because indeed we could hear, for instance, from Mr. Vistisen that there we have strikingly different visions about the future of Europe. But you know what? I am confident. I am confident that next year during the European election, those who are committed to discourse in our continent, to keep it as a beacon of peace, human rights, liberty and freedoms will prevail. Thank you very much.
Per il gruppo confederale della Sinistra Unitaria Europea, Sinistra Verde Nordica, la parola all'onorevole De Jong.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and a big welcome also to the Danish Prime Minister. I must confess that I have a bit of a weak spot for Denmark, coming from the Netherlands myself. I think they're not only the landscape and the windmills, the old ones, but especially also the new ones are a good example. But also the character. Danes are pretty stubborn. You don't have to tell the Danes what to do. And that looks very much like the Dutch. I mean, we have the same sort of character in that nature. I must say that when you started, Mr. Prime Minister, the reactions like the EU has too much power, or also that it's not good for the ordinary citizen, that's also sounds that I hear in my country. And at the same time, we have the now famous 84% of the Danes saying that the EU brought Denmark advantages. And I really am a bit puzzled how you could bring these together. Is the Eurobarometer representative, or is your public consultation representative? What is the real opinion in Denmark at the moment? Now, the other particular aspect, I think, of Denmark are all the opt-outs. And to go through them one by one, you have opted out of EU citizenship. I have asked my Danish colleagues, what does that mean? Nobody knew, but perhaps it is relevant in the context of Brexit. And it would be nice to know, is there a difference between how the rest of Europe will deal with British citizens after Brexit and how Denmark will deal with that? Or is this just not a problem? Then on justice and home affairs, you have an opt-out. In 2015, it was confirmed by the Danes that they didn't want to be part of, or didn't want to get an opt-in instead of an opt-out. Again, the question, organized crime doesn't stop at the Danish border. Do you think you will have another referendum shortly on this issue, and what is the general opinion these days on that? Then on opt-out on defense. It has been mentioned by others. We had a meeting in Copenhagen hosted by you of the prime ministers, liberal prime ministers in Europe. Apparently, the European army has been discussed there because at least the Dutch Minister of the Interior said, yes, in the long term we are in favor of a European army. Is that true? Do you share that opinion? Or what was the outcome of that meeting? Because there's a lot of confusion about that. You have no euro, but packed to the euro. I can just see that Denmark is not doing very poorly at the moment. My question there again is there still a discussion on the euro? Do you think this is actually a better solution than being part of the euro yourself and have the euro instead of the Danish crown at the same time? Just 1 minute or 2 minutes even on the single market. I think that we can safely say that the single market as such brings economic benefits, but the point is always to whom? And if we look at the general situation, then I think the workers, the employees, are generally of the opinion that the single market works better for the employers, for the factor capital, than for the factor labor and work. I'm just curious how you see this. If you see the new single market program of the Commission, the word employee doesn't occur anywhere. So no money for the workers, whereas we see also Commission proposals for mobility of companies. But where is the voice of the workers? If your company suddenly, where you work or where you have worked for many decades, suddenly goes to another member state, does the worker have the right to say, no, we don't want that? Do we give a golden share to the workers for these type of decisions that are so much of importance to the daily lives of workers? Also, we had this morning the trade unions, the transport trade unions in our midst, in our group, and I saw a documentary on 200 Filipinos being exploited in Denmark because of the freedom of movement of services. It was completely legal, it worked via subsidiaries in Poland, and they hired Filipinos, and they actually are used now all over Europe and especially in Denmark. How can we counter that it becomes illegal to have these practices? And how can we counter the fact that, for example, Ukrainians are now working in the Polish construction sector, whereas Poles are working in the construction sector elsewhere in Europe? That's not right. So a single market also for the workers. What are your views about that? Thank you.
Per il gruppo Europa della Libertà e della Democrazia Diretta la parola all'onorevole Agea.
Grazie Presidente, colleghi, Primo Ministro Rasmussen, Commissario Dombrovskis. Questo è un altro dei tanti dibattiti che facciamo sul futuro dell'Europa. Noi questo confronto ovviamente lo apprezziamo davvero, ma dovremmo essere altrettanto sinceri e dovremmo dirci e ammettere che l'Unione Europea sta attraversando un momento di estrema difficoltà, una difficoltà che riguarda i cittadini. Immagino riguardi in parte anche i suoi cittadini, Ministro, e riguarda soprattutto le istituzioni che non godono né di ottima salute né tantomeno di una buona reputazione. E noi dobbiamo chiederci quali sono realmente le cause di questa situazione infelice. I cittadini sono in grandi difficoltà. Ovviamente le scelte che questa Europa ha fatto negli ultimi anni e soprattutto le scelte delle istituzioni europee hanno veramente fatto danni irreparabili ai cittadini e al tessuto sociale di questa Europa. Sono anni di politiche austere, anni di austerità che hanno causato disastri nel tessuto sociale. Le politiche economiche e fiscali hanno messo in ginocchio non solo i cittadini ma anche le imprese, e le politiche economiche sbagliate, le politiche sbagliate portano danni e ingiustizie. Ogni tanto io seguo le domande che ci poniamo, i colleghi, i professori che si interrogano su perché c'è tanta disaffezione da parte dei cittadini nei confronti delle istituzioni. Ci facciamo delle domande, ci poniamo degli interrogativi, addirittura commissioniamo studi per capire che cosa in questa Europa non ci piace, ma in realtà la realtà e la verità è sotto i nostri occhi. Peccato che noi abbiamo dimenticato di confrontarci e di parlare costantemente con i cittadini. Noi ci siamo, e voi soprattutto vi siete rinchiusi in queste gabbie dorate, in questi palazzi dorati, e non vi confrontate con la realtà, non parlate con i cittadini, perché i cittadini sarebbero in grado di dirvi quali sono le difficoltà che affrontano, quali sono i problemi e le sofferenze che oggi si trovano a vivere. È come se vi foste rinchiusi in una campana di vetro nella quale non arrivano le parole dei cittadini, che però negli stati e nella nostra società vivono in situazioni di grande difficoltà, e noi dovremmo tornare a parlare costantemente con loro. I cittadini vogliono una cosa, vogliono un cambiamento sostanziale, immediato e radicale. E io porto l'esempio del mio paese, dell'Italia. Noi stiamo cercando di cambiare radicalmente quella che è la realtà del nostro Paese, con delle riforme che siano veramente fatte per i cittadini, perché l'agenda dei governi non la deve dettare né l'austerità, né le regole di bilancio, né le imposizioni, né i trattati. L'agenda dei governi deve essere dettata dalle esigenze, dai bisogni e dalle sofferenze dei cittadini, e noi ci stiamo cercando di realizzare il reddito di cittadinanza. Credo che in tutti i paesi, voi conosciate bene questa misura, l'avete, tranne in Italia che ancora non c'è stato modo di realizzarlo, una misura di dignità che possa permettere ai cittadini di vivere in condizioni dignitose e rientrare nel circuito del lavoro, così come i giovani, e questa è una misura fondamentale. Noi stiamo cercando di riformare le pensioni. L'Europa ci ha imposto veramente la riforma delle pensioni, che è stata realizzata dal precedente governo in maniera sostanziale, pedissequa, con risultati devastanti in tutto il tessuto dei cittadini e nel tessuto sociale italiano. Abbiamo creato gli esodati, abbiamo creato veramente una voragine e un disastro sociale. Oggi stiamo cercando di mettere mano a questa riforma imposta dall'Europa e realizzata in maniera prona dal precedente governo, che però è stato tra l'altro mandato a casa proprio sulla base delle riforme scellerate che ha fatto in questi ultimi anni, e stiamo cercando di dare dignità con la riforma delle pensioni. Abbiamo creato un fondo per i truffati delle banche, perché i precedenti governi con i soldi dei cittadini salvavano le banche private, e ci sono cittadini che sono rimasti sul lastrico, hanno visto i propri conti correnti azzerati, e oggi noi dobbiamo adoperarci per poter dare sostegno ai cittadini che sono stati truffati. Noi siamo sicuri che questi sono cambiamenti che verranno accettati, perché solo attraverso questi cambiamenti sostanziali l'Europa potrà ripartire e ricostruire le proprie basi. Noi ci crediamo profondamente nell'Europa e vogliamo restare in Europa, ma a condizioni sostenibili e sostanziali cambiate per i nostri cittadini. Noi vogliamo un'unione che sia un'unione non solo di nome ma anche di fatto, un'unione che fondi le sue radici sui bisogni e sulle necessità dei cittadini. Noi abbiamo apprezzato per esempio il voto di ieri sul no all'inserimento del Fiscal Compact nei trattati. È fondamentale, questo è un accordo scellerato, e la dimostrazione che la Commissione per gli affari economici e monetari ha detto un no così intransigente. Siamo assolutamente favorevoli a questo passaggio, è la dimostrazione di come le politiche dell'austerità stanno fallendo e si deve invertire la rotta. Io credo che sia questo il cambiamento che i cittadini ci stanno chiedendo. Lo stanno chiedendo in Italia, lo stanno chiedendo qui in Europa, e sicuramente lo chiederanno fra pochi mesi con il voto delle europee. Sicuramente un vento di cambiamento che sta soffiando non solo in Italia ma anche in Europa porterà cambiamenti sostanziali il prossimo anno, e forse allora il prossimo anno sarà anche molto più interessante sedersi qui e parlare del futuro dell'Europa, quando ci saranno condizioni diverse, una base diversa fatta di bisogni reali e di un'agenda politica e veramente di riforme dettate sulla base dei bisogni e delle necessità dei cittadini. Grazie.
Per il gruppo Europa delle Nazioni e della Libertà la parola all'onorevole.
Monsieur le Premier ministre, votre pays a adhéré à la Communauté européenne en 1973, c'est-à-dire en même temps que le Royaume-Uni. À l'instar des Britanniques, les Danois ont su faire valoir dès le départ leur singularité. En effet, votre pays a négocié un certain nombre d'opt-out, c'est-à-dire des exceptions au droit européen, quand d'autres dirigeants livraient leur pays pieds et poings liés à la Commission européenne. Vos prédécesseurs ont su préserver des pans entiers de votre souveraineté, c'est-à-dire de votre liberté, en fonction de vos intérêts. Ainsi, n'avez-vous pas adhéré à l'espace de liberté, de sécurité et de justice, la flatteuse et pompeuse appellation du système d'asile européen? Vous n'avez pas non plus adhéré, et vous êtes le seul État membre dans ce cas, à la PSDC, la politique de sécurité et de défense commune. Vous avez également obtenu une option de retrait lors des négociations sur le traité de Maastricht, qui a transformé la communauté européenne en Union européenne. Vous n'avez donc pas adhéré à l'union économique et monétaire, et vous utilisez toujours la couronne danoise et non l'euro. Proche de la Suède, culturellement, mais aussi et d'abord géographiquement, vous n'avez pas commis les mêmes erreurs que votre voisin en matière de politique migratoire. En vous reliant à la Suède, le pont construit entre Copenhague et Malmö a sans doute contribué à vous éloigner de votre voisin, du moins de son prétendu modèle d'intégration des communautés immigrées. Malmö, le Molenbeek de Scandinavie, où près de la moitié de la population est d'origine immigrée, Malmö où la criminalité a explosé, de la petite délinquance au grand banditisme, Malmö qui subit régulièrement des émeutes du type de celles que la France a connues en 2005. Votre gouvernement a su prendre des mesures drastiques pour éviter une pareille désintégration de la société danoise. Vous avez vous-même dénoncé l'émergence de zones de non-droit et, je cite, de sociétés parallèles musulmanes. En septembre, vous avez encore plaidé pour le renforcement des frontières extérieures, alors que vous avez déjà rétabli le contrôle effectif de frontières intérieures. En octobre, votre ministre de l'Immigration et de l'Intégration a annoncé que le Danemark n'accepterait plus aucun réfugié jusqu'à nouvel ordre. Cependant, après ce portrait flatteur, permettez-moi de vous dire qu'il y a tout de même quelque chose de pourri au Royaume du Danemark. Loin de moi, bien sûr, l'idée d'offenser votre pays dont je viens de faire un large éloge. Mais par cette phrase de Shakespeare devenue proverbiale dans la langue de Molière, je voudrais pointer une forme de schizophrénie. Malgré toutes ces mesures qui vous placent à bien des égards presque à la droite de Viktor Orban, vous appartenez toujours au groupe libéral fédéraliste de M. Verhofstadt et vous ne tarissez pas d'éloges pour Merkel et pour Macron. Macron est un ultralibéral et en même temps, pour reprendre sa formule fétiche, un adepte du racket fiscal. Oui, il accable les Français de nouvelles taxes, alors même que la France est déjà l'un des pays les plus taxés ou surtaxés d'Europe. C'est ce même Macron qui dépense des milliards pour une politique migratoire qui est d'ailleurs diamétralement opposée à la vôtre. Alors que votre pays ne fait pas partie de la PSDC, vous avez étonnamment soutenu l'idée macronienne d'une armée européenne. Seriez-vous prêt, Monsieur le Premier ministre, à placer des soldats danois sous les ordres directs de M. Juncker ou de celui qui lui succédera? Moi, je ne veux pas que des soldats français aillent verser leur sang sur ordre des bureaucrates non élus et sans légitimité de la Commission européenne. Enfin, pas plus tard qu'hier, au Parlement danois, vous avez déclaré que le Danemark bénéficierait du pacte mondial de l'ONU pour les migrations. Pourtant, ce pacte est immigrationniste. Il est rejeté par les États-Unis, l'Australie, Israël, l'Autriche, la Hongrie, la Pologne, la Bulgarie, la Suisse, la Croatie et sans doute beaucoup d'autres encore. Aujourd'hui, l'avenir de l'Europe, c'est l'objet de notre débat, se joue à Budapest, à Rome et à Varsovie. Le tandem Macron-Merkel, qui représente le fédéralisme et l'immigrationnisme, appartient déjà bel et bien au passé.
La parola onorevole Funtulis non iscritto.
Η συζήτησή μας σήμερα, κύριε Πρωθυπουργέ, αφορά το μέλλον της Ευρώπης. Δυστυχώς όμως αδυνατό να συμμεριστώ την αισιοδοξία που διακατέχει πολλούς από τους παρόντες. Η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση αυτή τη στιγμή θεωρεί πως έχει ξεπεράσει την οικονομική κρίση και περιμένει να έρθουν οι ημέρες της ανάπτυξης. Ή έτσι θέλουν να παρουσιάζουν τα πράγματα. Στην πραγματικότητα όμως η Ένωση βρίσκεται μπροστά στην αρχή μιας πολύ μεγαλύτερης κρίσης. Και αυτό διότι οι ηγεμονικές ελίτ της Ένωσης αδυνατούν ή δεν θέλουν να καταλάβουν την τεράστια απόσταση που χωρίζει τις δικές τους προτεραιότητες από εκείνες των ευρωπαϊκών λαών. Η νέα αυτή κρίση θα είναι κρίση πολιτική, η οποία όμως ευελπιστώ πως θα φέρει στην εξουσία δυνάμεις που θα εκφράσουν τη θέληση των λαών και όχι των πολυεθνικών εταιριών. Τέλος, θα ήθελα να αναφερθώ και στο σημαντικό ζήτημα της λαθρομετανάστευσης. Η χώρα σας ακολουθεί μια πολιτική που κινείται στη σωστή κατεύθυνση και έχει καταφέρει σε μεγάλο βαθμό να σταματήσει τις επιπλέον ροές. Δυστυχώς δεν νομίζω πως αυτό από μόνο του αρκεί. Επιπλέον, πολλές άλλες κυβερνήσεις, συμπεριλαμβανομένης και της ελληνικής, παρά το γεγονός πως είναι σημαία εισόδου στην Ένωση, αρνούνται να υιοθετήσουν παρόμοιες πολιτικές. Εάν δεν αντιμετωπιστούν τα φλέγοντα προβλήματα της καθημερινότητας των πολιτών από εθνικά σκεπτόμενες κυβερνήσεις, προβλέπω δυστυχώς πολύ ασταθείς μέρες για την Ένωση. Ευχαριστώ.
Ora la parola al Primo Ministro Rasmussen per rispondere alle prime domande che ha ricevuto dai Presidenti dei gruppi.
Well, thank you everybody for sharing your views with me. It's not easy to respond because you brought many issues to the table, but first of all I'd like to thank the Vice President of the Commission for your very kind comments about the Danish society model, flexicurity, etc. And I think, and that is a response to some remarks given by good colleagues here, that one of the reasons, because you asked me what is right, the Eurobarometer or the people's consultations, I think that's probably the secret why the Danes are still so open-minded towards this idea of European cooperation and the single market. That is due to our social model. The fact that we, perhaps better than many other countries, have managed to redistribute what we have achieved from being a part of this more and more global economy. And I think that should be a lesson learned, but not necessarily something we should then reinvent in a European context, because countries are different. But it should be something that should inspire each of the 28, unfortunately soon 27, member countries to look inwards. How can we secure sound fiscal policy? How can we introduce flexicurity? How can we strike a balance between high taxation but at the same time citizens' freedom to choose within services provided from the public, etc. I think that's exactly why both figures are right. That the Danes are reluctant to certain aspects and are pragmatic and not as warm-blooded as you perhaps will find in other countries, and that's why the political leaders will not make speeches like my good friend Guy. But at the same time, share these values. That's, I think, an important point to make. Then, if you will excuse me, I will turn to my mother tongue in order to respond to some of the Danes present here today. Og det står lidt i kontrast, hr. Vistesen og hr. Kofod, når man ligesom portrætterer det billede af den danske regering. Der blev sagt, at der skulle gå 1.200 et eller andet dage, før jeg bragte temaerne omkring mere fairness i den frie bevægelighed op i Europaparlamentet. Og det er jo rigtigt i den forstand, at det er første gang, jeg optræder i Europaparlamentet. Jeg har jo ikke været inviteret før, jeg er ikke medlem, så jeg har jo ikke rigtig haft mulighed for at komme lige her før. Men det er jo ikke et rigtigt billede at tegne, at der ikke har været arbejdet med den sag. Og hele den her sag handler jo altså om, hvordan sikrer vi inden for visionen om den frie bevægelighed, at befolkningen føler rimelighed, og at vi undgår løntrykkeri, social dumping, noget af det, vi har set på den dansk-tyske grænse. Det har der været arbejdet med. Og det er jo rigtigt, hr. Vistesen, at vi har jo ikke haft en stor succes. Jeg var selv glad ved, at vi op til den britiske folkeafstemning jo rent faktisk begyndte at nå nogle resultater. For under indtryk af en britisk folkeafstemning om Brexit eller Remain, der lykkedes det jo faktisk i rådet at lave et kompromis, som betød under den forudsætning, at briterne stemte Remain, at nogle af de danske prioriteter, for eksempel omkring indekseringen af børnechecken, kunne sættes igennem. Det er jo sådan set bare en additionel grund til at beklage udkommet af den britiske folkeafstemning. Og jeg bliver nødt til at sige, også her i det her rum, at vi kommer til at genbesøge nogle af de her spørgsmål. Vi kommer til at genbesøge nogle af de her spørgsmål. Og det bør vi jo gøre allerede i forbindelse med forordning 883, hvor jeg har noteret mig, at der nu er opbakning til her i parlamentet, at der kommer en generel debat i parlamentet om den forordning. For vi skal finde de balancer, der gør, at vores befolkninger stadigvæk omfavner den frie bevægelighed. Og det gør de ikke, hvis man optjener retten til dagpenge allerede efter en dag. Det gør de ikke, hvis man kan hjemsende en børnecheck, der modsvarer mere end en månedsløn til børn, der bor i et andet land, hvor leveomkostningerne er langt lavere end i for eksempel Danmark. Og her er der en kæmpe opgave for parlamentet, som jeg håber, man vil gribe ud efter. Jeg har jo lyttet nok til debatten allerede nu her til at kunne konstatere, at der jo ikke i parlamentet er konsensus om alting, men der ligger en vigtig opgave for parlamentet her. Så kunne jeg godt have lyst til at sige en bemærkning omkring de spørgsmål, kommentarer, der har været rejst fra forskellige sider om europæisk hær, den nye sikkerhedspolitiske situation, etc. I mean, we are living in a different security situation that, I mean, goes without saying. A more aggressive Putin at the east, and I totally share what the Vice President said about Russia's aggression in Ukraine. But that's not only about Russia, it's all about what we experience in the Middle East, in Turkey, a US president who is not as engaged in world policy as one perhaps could wish. And we have to respond to this. But we have to respond to this in a clever way. And introducing this vision of a European army as something very operational and something in a kind of competition to what we have in NATO, that's not, at least in my opinion, the right way to respond. We need to uphold this strong transatlantic defense cooperation. When UK leaving the European Union, I think the rest of us together will represent less than 20% of NATO's total capacity. So the idea that we should, among ourselves, be able to do something which can compete to the NATO alliance, that's not a good idea. But that's not what is proposed either. So I think we should be careful in the way we use words. My perspective is that it is absolutely necessary that Europe step up. It's about spending, but it's also about closer cooperation. But by doing so, we have to be sure that we do not duplicate capacity which is already existing in the NATO framework. So we should stick to the idea of added value. And that's not a European army in the sense that I think people will interpret that idea if you just say a European army. It's about closer cooperation in defense industry. It's about closer cooperation when we, after, for instance, wars in our neighboring countries go in and stabilize things. And the reason why I have called for a debate in Denmark about this defense opt-out is exactly this. We are known as a country who always participate and step up, whether it's about aid, and we haven't reduced our aid. Actually, due to the growth in our economy, our aid budgets is increasing year from year. We are always ready to send soldiers in the NATO framework. And if we develop in the future a more a different division of labor between NATO and Europe, then it will be, from my perspective, a disaster if Danish soldiers with a NATO cap can do the tough missions. And then if we turn the tough missions into soft missions and stabilize a nation, talking about nation building within the European framework, then Danish soldiers have to return. And that's exactly why I have raised this debate about a possible referendum sometime in the future about this defense opt-out. Not joining a European army under the leadership of Juncker, as it was mentioned, but a stronger cooperation between national defense capacities within the European Union. Well, given the time, I think I should bring this to conclusion and just respond perhaps to one very concrete question about Nord Stream, which is, in my eye, or after my opinion, linked to this discussion about the new security situation in Europe. And that's why I have been asking again and again and again, and I really hope that the Parliament will give a big push towards that we need to discuss this infrastructure project at a European level. Because it is definitely a project which comes with some geopolitical implications as well. And I must honestly speaking, I must say that I think it shouldn't be up to Denmark, squeezed in between countries who have already given a clear yes to this line, to take final decision. So what we need is a European answer to that challenge. I think I will limit myself to these short comments, and I'm looking forward to this catch the eye element. Thank you.